So here you can see, this is, again is not the world's nicest barbecue. It's a perfectly good barbecue, but here at the lake it gets a lot of use. The first couple of years we were out here, actually, our barbecue is basically our kitchen, so it got used a lot for basically all of the cooking. But I just took a moment and I scraped the grills on this really well. You can even take them off and soak them in the sink and then really scrub them, and we do that every so often. But here, this is sort of like the intermittent in-between cleaning. So brushed them off, got them fairly clean, and then what you have to realize is that after you've scraped these things and you've taken a wire brush to them or something like that, you've scraped off a lot of the non-stick coating that could otherwise be there. Sorry, Sophie sees something in the background, probably a bird. But now we need to add the non-stick coating back on. So in a bowl here, I've got a paper towel and there's a little bit of grapeseed oil. You could use canola as well. But I just kind of soaked the paper towel and now I'm oiling the grills. And you can do this a few times. But what this is going to do is kind of bring back that non-stick coating. And so if you're going to grill something, especially something like fish, and put nice lines on it, it's really, really important that it not be super sticky. It's got to be kind of non-stick. So what I'll do is I'll coat these really well with oil, close the lid, and I'll repeat this again. So it's going to cook on there. You might see a little bit of smoke. Careful of your temperature. Obviously, if there's any flame, back off, cool it down, and then try again. But here I'm going to heat it up. And I will do that again, and then we'll move on. Okay, so here we go with a little bit of prep. I've got some portions of salmon. So these are skin-removed fillets that I've kind of cleaned up, took the skin off, trimmed around the edges. Didn't want them to have too much of that sort of fatty belly on them. You can always save that for other purposes. And then now I'm kind of getting them ready. Now there's two methods I'm going to show you. One is in tin foil. So I make a little boat. Definitely make sure you put a generous amount of oil on the bottom. I've used olive, but if without that oil, it will definitely stick badly. And picking tinfoil off your food is never a good time. But I've also put some sliced garlic just on the bottom to give them some flavor all the way through, and then seasoned with salt and pepper. And then I've got some things to put in there as well. There's some parsley, some oregano. And then for our warm potato salad afterwards, we've got some chives and chive blossoms. There's some red peppers that I'm going to grill and put on the side. I'll just toss those with a little bit of oil and salt and pepper, or even a vinaigrette salad dressing if you have one. Works really well in the summer. And then lastly, we've got these, which I'm actually going to grill and try to put marks on. Now, this is a great method for, basic everyday cooking. I use this in the summer. It's kind of low labor and a little bit easy. But if I were in a restaurant and my chef said, I want grilled salmon on the menu, what he's probably intending is for you to put some lines on those things. And that's sort of the pro level. That's a little bit more difficult than a steak. Fish is way more delicate. Sticks worse than steaks do. And then when you try to take it off that grill, if you need to pull on it at all, it will just smash into a million pieces where a steak will not. So this takes a little bit more care. First of all, pat dry as best you can. So really try to get the excess moisture off it. Here I've got it resting on paper towels, and I patted the top as well. Then I'm going to oil. Then I'm going to season with salt and pepper. And salt, sometimes you're a little weary putting salt on something before you grill it. But with the case of fish, go for it. What salt does is it sometimes helps to firm the fish up a little, which actually makes it a little easier to grill. If you ever find yourself grilling something like cod, like ling cod or black cod, you'll find that it's actually imperative that you do salt it before you grill it. So it does help a little bit. So I'm going to get these ready for grilling, put some herbs on them, some oil, and then we're going to go out to the barbecue. So things have been on for a few minutes now. We've got our red peppers, which are getting a little bit of grill marks and a little bit of color. I'm just going to turn a few of these guys over just to see. Oh, that looks beautiful. That's really nice. Yeah, just really nice. A little bit of char on there, and they're going to be super tasty. Oh my gosh, I lost one. You missed that. Now, the two salmons I've got going. We've got the salmon in tinfoil here. You can see it sizzling, a little bit of bubbling. I just turned down that side of the grill because it's a little bit hot and it's cooking a little faster than I like it to. Now, if you can flip them over, but this is where I'm actually going to switch tools. Tongs are great for vegetables. They're not good for fish. I've worked in several restaurants where chefs actually didn't let me use tongs, sometimes on protein altogether, but mainly on fish. And for good reason, it tends to ruin it. So I've got a spatula. Now this one here I've had on for a minute, and I started it up here, nice hot spot, plunked it on, left it for a few minutes, didn't touch it, allowing it to get a few marks. Then I turned it and I gave it a quarter turn onto a fresh spot on the grill. So this spot, it's had the salmon on it, the grill is probably cooled down. When I turn it, I put it on a fresh spot. That fresh spot's probably hotter, and it's going to result in good marks. So together, let's see what this bottom looks like. So I've got some marks. I left a little piece here, and the more you grill, the more you season this grill, and I might do that before I put the other two pieces of salmon on, the less that's going to happen. But I am getting some marks. Now I've got this thing cranked. This is as hot as it goes, but at school our barbecues are a little bit hotter and they do a little bit of a better job. Now that looks good. On this fresh spot here, I'm actually going to plunk down my two other pieces of salmon. So in the interest of food safety, I'm using the tongs for this step. I go plunk and plunk. I'm just going to oil the center bit there because it was a little bit sticky. But now I'm going to give these a few minutes. We'll come back. We're going to give it a quarter turn, give it another few minutes, then flip them over, and then check for doneness. These will be probably done at the same point in time. I need just a few more minutes. Okay, it's been just another minute, and I'm getting a little bit of flare up, which can be from oil on the grill. That's something to be aware of. And if you see that happening, it's a good idea to move your product off that spot onto a new spot. The flavor of burnt oil is not good. It'll come through in anything you cook. So I'm taking this, and actually I'm going to check it. Now it's going to be firm, much like a steak. Imagine sort of mid-rare on a steak, the old check the fleshy part of your hand trick. You could use that here. But this one I can tell is done, and I'm going to put this over on my plate here on the side. So that's fresh clean plate, which is important for food safety. Now these guys, I'm going to give it a quarter turn to. So I'm going to take this guy, slide it onto a fresh spot, give it a quarter turn, and you can hear the sizzle on that fresh spot. Same with this guy, gave it a quarter turn there. So that's where you get those cross-hatched marks. These guys, they look good, but they are not quite done, and they're not really finishing on top. So what I'm going to do, try to do this with a phone in your hand. I'm going to try and get up underneath. I'm going to brace them against the other ones, and I'm going to flip them over. Oops. So you can hopefully see that. That looks quite good. I might even put some more herbs on the bottom just to give that a little bit of color, but that's nice. And our peppers look phenomenal. They are pretty much done, so I'm going to pull those off in just a second. But I will come back in just a second to show you what these look like, and then we'll plate up our dish. Okay, folks, we're back. This has been on for another 3-4 minutes, and I think we're at the point where we're ready to flip these two guys. So I'm going to try really carefully to get up underneath without breaking it, and then flip over. You can see some pretty good crosshatch marks on there. And let's try this one. And there again, some pretty good crosshatch marks on there. So those have come along nicely. These two actually look finished. So I'm going to check them. Now, again, looking for them to have firmed up. Some people and some fish, they say like to flake when they're done. So you can feel the flakes kind of coming apart. Two hands work better. that looks quite good. And this guy, I'll try not to move it too much, so I might have to use that hand for a sec. Nope, got it. Chasing this thing all around the place. Okay, putting this phone down for a sec. All right, so these guys look really good, really nice, juxtaposed with the grilled salmon. Now, it is okay to have a touch of pink in salmon. However, it really is recommended that it be previously frozen if you do that. So a good quality salmon that's been frozen, and that's to prevent those pesky parasites. Now these are good. I'm going to give the others just a minute to finish, and then I'm going to plate this up and I'll show you a photo of our finished product. And here we are. We've got a plate ready for our salmon. So I've got some potatoes that I just lightly simmered, salted water, and then after they were done I tossed them with a pesto. And I'll get into pesto a little bit more later, but it's essentially a mixture of herbs, cheese, usually nuts. In this case I use walnuts and Parmesan cheese. Arugula is the herb here. Olive oil, a little bit of garlic, and then made into sort of a paste. It's great for a dressing. It's great for on pasta. That's sort of where it's typically seen. But here I used it on a potato salad, and the potatoes are still a little bit warm, so it's kind of a heartier meal. I've got some herbs here. So I mean, it's summertime and there's no shortage of herbs. If you don't have an herb garden, highly recommend starting one. But sort of got some parsley and some oregano there. Here I've got some little batons of chives. Something I typically use in a restaurant is I'd have lots of these chives now because they're everywhere and they're really affordable. And then lastly, the flowers on the chives are actually all edible and they taste just like a chive. So to complement this plate, which is, it's a lot of red and a bit of green, there's some purple to go around. So we've got some nice purple flowers. Sorry, I think I just give you the show of the whole kitchen. But that's the starter. And then finally, a nice modest piece of, our grilled salmon on top. This is centerpiece. And I'll put a little bit on top of it, but generally the rule is you don't want to hide your main event, which, is typically the protein. It's the most expensive piece of the whole plate. So that is our grilled salmon with boiled potatoes and pesto and grilled veggies. So I hope you have a chance to try grilling some fish at home.